Is Puerto Rico a welfare island that depends on the generous support from the U.S. taxpayers to stay afloat? If you listen to some of the news reports and even some biased commentators, you would assume that this is the case. In fact, since news of Puerto Rico's debt crisis has been making headlines, many have assumed that Puerto Rico is nothing but a huge burden on the U.S. taxpayer. However, nothing could be further from the truth. We're going to look at a chart put together by Puerto Rican economist Dr. Rosario Rivera from the University of Cayey in Puerto Rico. Dr. Rivera's chart was originally presented on a show in Puerto Rico called El Circo de la Mega in February of 2012. The show aired in Spanish, so I took the liberty of translating the information in English. Now, although this information is 10 years old, it still gives you an idea of the economics between the United States and Puerto Rico. Let's look at these numbers. In the first part, we're going to look at the numbers in terms of money received from the U.S. to Puerto Rico. Number one, federal contributions to state government. Now, this is basically money sent from the U.S. federal government to support local government agencies in Puerto Rico. This totals to around $2.7 billion. Number two, federal assistance grants for individuals. This includes things like WIC, Medicaid, Pell Grants, food stamps, etc. About 37% of the population in Puerto Rico receives this. This amounts to $1.9 billion. So far, we have a total of $4.6 billion that sent from the U.S. to Puerto Rico. Number three, avenged transfers. This includes Social Security, pensions, Medicare, veterans payments, etc. This amounts to $8.9 billion. So now we have a total of $13.5 billion that comes from the U.S. federal government to Puerto Rico. However, we can subtract that $8.9 billion from the $13.5 billion because Puerto Ricans on the island pay into these avenged transfers. This is money that they paid into the system. Keep in mind that although some Puerto Ricans on the island don't pay federal income taxes, all Puerto Ricans on the island pay federal payroll taxes. So that $8.9 billion is money that they paid into the system. So now we're back to total money received annually from the U.S. federal government to Puerto Rico, and that amounts to, again, $4.6 billion. Now we're going to look at money that goes from Puerto Rico to the United States. Number one, registered merchandise imports. This is the amount Puerto Ricans on the island spent buying from the U.S. Keep in mind that Puerto Rico is not a sovereign state. They're a territory of the U.S. and they're limited in who they can trade with or not trade with. This amounts to $22.6 billion. Number two, capital returns for American corporations. These are profits of American corporations in Puerto Rico. This amounts to $34 billion. Now, although many of these corporations provide jobs, over the years, the jobs have been at a negative net growth. And number three, Jones Act, the cabotage law. This refers to extra costs for Puerto Ricans in shipment rates because they can't choose cheaper non-American ships to move cargo. In fact, Puerto Ricans on the island are probably the only people to bear these extra costs, which amount to $1.5 billion annually. So here are the final numbers. Transfers from the U.S. to Puerto Rico amount to $4.6 billion, and transfers from Puerto Rico to the U.S. amount to $58.1 billion. So basically, the United States provides a slice of bread to Puerto Rico, and in return, Puerto Rico returns a loaf back to the United States. Now, this information is not intended to say one side is the good guy and the other side is the bad guy. It's intended to give you a balanced view of what's what. so we're not misinformed as to the reality of the economic relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States. I included a link to the original presentation video in Spanish in the description below. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Please hit the like button. Help us to spread this video by sharing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos.